On December the 7th, 1973, Tales from Topographic Oceans was released, and I waited for the critical storm to come, and it did. Up till then, Jethro Tull had been the music press's whipping boys, but now it all turned on Yes. Pretentious, overblown, pompous twaddle, Yes have certainly gone too far this time. Me, I just used to put the album on and let it wash over me. I think after all these years, the album is so deeply ingrained in my psyche, it only takes a few bars to transport me back to those topographic oceans. The first track, The Revealing Science of God. As this starts, you can hear the roar of the sea in the distance, and the music enters, slow and majestic. In comes John, almost chanting those lyrics. As it builds, Steve and Chris join in with John on the vocals, and then it builds and builds and builds like the perfect wave. It crashes and you catch it. Rick on his keyboards and Chris's bass playing call and response. No band in the world play like this. It's magnificent, and that's just the opening 4 minutes. If I was pushed to pick one side, it would be the remembering, High the Memory, where a race of people rediscover all this ancient knowledge. Forced a bit between the mouth of freedom, didn't we learn to fly? Remember to sail the skies. It's all hokum, I know, but it's glorious hokum. And when the remembering really kicks into gear near the end of the piece, what a beautiful, thrilling, musical roller coaster ride. No band in the world ever played quite like this. But every side is packed with extraordinary music and performances from all the band. Even Rick, with his lack of interest in the project, plays brilliantly. Also, in my eyes, this was a brave, bold attempt by the band to push forward, to progress. They could have ended up doing endless retreads of Fragile or Close to the Edge, but they chose not to. But Wakeman's apathy towards the project grew more and more as the band started to tour the album. It culminated in him famously eating a curry on stage while the rest of the band played on. Rick couldn't see where the band were going. His solo career was taking off. His first album, The Six Wives of Henry VIII, had been a success. On the 18th of May 1974, Rick's 25th birthday, he found out that his second solo album, Journey to the Centre of the Earth, had entered the UK album charts at number 1. Also later that day, he confirmed that he had now quit Yes. Searching for a replacement, the band tried out Vangelis. Steve Howe. Vangelis is an amazing musician, but he didn't want to follow structure. In other words, he could play one thing one day, and the next day he'd play something completely different. Friend of the band Chris Welch from The Melody Maker suggested they look to Patrick Moraz from Switzerland. This lineup produced Relayer, released the 28th of November 1974. For this album, the band scaled back and went for a single record with the same structure as Close to the Edge. One long piece taking up the first side of the album and 2 shorter pieces on side 2. I saw the band perform the album in 1975 at Queen's Park Rangers football stadium in West London. Yes, that day were quite simply stunning, especially their performances of the Relayer songs. Gates of Delirium. Anderson originally planned to have the piece based on the novel War and Peace, but Patrick Moraz says he showed Anderson a copy of the French science fiction comic book Delirious and believes Anderson based the song on that. There's a prelude, a charge, a victory song and peace at the end, with hope for the future. It seemed to me that day the band had gone up a level. Howe's guitar work, Squire's bass playing, White's drumming and Moraz's keyboards were just off the scale. As Gates of Delirium reaches its finale and morphs into Soon, we have Steve Howe on pedal steel guitar pouring out those impossibly beautiful lines, floating out across that vast football field, and John's voice, John's crystal clear voice, I stood there with the tears streaming down my face. It was that beautiful. Sound Chaser. A lot of people have said over the years, this is Yes doing jazz fusion. It's an incredibly difficult track to play live. No room for mistakes or it just falls apart. A musical high wire act. But they did it. A special mention for Chris's bass playing and Alan White's drumming. Cha cha cha, cha cha. To Be Over. Steve Howe says the inspiration for this track came from a boat ride on the River Serpentine in London. It's not like a boat trip I've ever taken, Steve, but there you go. What can you say? It's classic Yes. Complex music, but packed with melody and those wonderful, wonderful harmonies. But notice how Mraz's keyboard solo sets up a counterpoint melody to Howe's guitar and Squire's bass. Patrick, give him his due, spent hours and hours working out that counterpoint melody. Chris Squire says he also feels that the interplay on this track between him and Alan White is something special. Some people have said that the sound mix wasn't great at Queen's Park Rangers. I can hear that on the concert recordings. I guess I was lucky. From where we were standing, it sounded fine. When the Relay tour wound down in August 1975, each member of the band took time out to work on solo projects. Yes's 1976 North American tour was particularly successful. It seemed like everyone and his uncle wanted to come and see the band. So, could we expect now a period of settled calm in the Yes universe? No. Patrick Moraz was given the Spanish Archer, the elbow, and Rick was contacted and asked to play as a session musician for the new album. I think the band went away and thought, after all the perceived excesses of the last few years, let's make a more user-friendly album. Keep all the things the fans love us for, but distill it a little bit. The resulting album, Going for the One, was released on the 15th of July 1977. The title track is dynamic, with Steve Howe blazing away on pedal steel guitar, but everyone is playing with such joy, such enthusiasm, it pours out of the record. I think that's what makes this record so good. Everyone is on the same page. It feels like everyone is having a good time making this album. They even managed to score another hit single with the track Wondrous Stories, and it was great to see them on the UK's pop programme, Top of the Pops, performing the track. Favourite track for me has to be Parallels. This was originally written by Chris Squire for his solo album Fish Out of Water, but was left out. In its rough form, it had no guitar riffs. Steve Howe remedies that here. Chris Squire delivers an absolute tour de force on the bass, and you can see why he's held in such high regard as a player. Those wonderful lines, playing with the rhythm, stepping back, intertwining with the riff, the interplay with the drums, it's just incredible playing. Adding to all that, vocals and harmonies that are to die for, and Rick's on fire. What more could you ask for? The final track, the 15.5 minutes of Awaken, is a nod back to previous epics and stands shoulder to shoulder with the very best of them. The church organ on Parallels and Awaken was recorded by telephone from St Martin's Church in Vevey, about 4 miles away from Mountain Studios in Montreux. The phone lines in Switzerland are high fidelity, and the organ sounds were fed directly into the studios. Can you imagine Rick saying, "I'll phone my keyboard parts in, lads"? The album, Going for the One, was another huge success for the band, critically and financially, spending 2 weeks at number 1 in the UK and reaching number 8 on the Billboard chart. So, maybe at last, a period of peace and continuity for the band? No. After a long 84-date tour of Europe and America, the band took a short break. Early in 1978, they got together to start work on a new record. The initial idea for the album was to record it in 2 parts, one to be put out in the summer of 1978, the other near Christmas time. Unfortunately, part 2 did not get recorded. The band also decided to produce and mix the album themselves, and Tomato, was released on the 22nd of September 1978. When I originally bought the album, I found the production wasn't that great, and even remastered versions haven't seemed to remedy that very much. It's not a bad album, though for me it shows the almost impossibly high standards the group had set for themselves throughout the 1970s. John Anderson says by that time he was tired, and everyone fell out with each other. And after all the years of touring, living together, playing gigs, everyone was just sick and tired of it, and you can hear it in the music. John also says at this time he was fed up with the pressure the record company was putting on him and the band. John, you've only sold 1 million copies of the last album. Sex Pistols have sold 3 million. Many journalists would like you to believe that punk destroyed the so-called dinosaurs of progressive rock. No, not true. In 1978, Yes was still selling out 4 consecutive nights at New York's Madison Square Garden, playing to an estimated audience of over 100,000 people and pulling in $1 million at the box office. I feel that all the intensity, all the energy, all the drive that the band had put into the last 10 years, those massive tours, all the pressures to constantly come up with new material, had just taken its toll. In 1979, the cracks really began to appear. Anderson saying to Rick Wakeman, "This is not the band I love. This is not the band I wanted to keep going." And so he left, soon to be followed by Rick. So there you have it. Yes, from 1969 to 1979. 10 amazing, fantastic years. The next 40 years would see more breakups, members coming back, leaving, coming back. The Yes soap opera. To be continued. Thank you for watching. Please stay safe, stay well. Don't forget to hit that like button and that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.